I'm going to give you some tips on how to make your meal prep ADHD friendly for the upcoming week. But meal prep for ADHD is not exactly the same as regular meal prep. There are things we have to consider, and I'm going to go over what those things are and how you can make it ADHD friendly. Let me explain. The first tip is simple is better. With ADHD, you're probably prone to distraction. So when you have a recipe you're trying to make or you're trying to prep for the week, you don't want to have to go through all the different things and the complex steps to try to figure out, okay, hey, I'll do this. I put this here. I put this in the oven. I look at it for 15 minutes or whatever, come back and change it and take it out and flip it, all that kind of stuff. You don't want to have to kind of do that because there's so many things that can go wrong if you get distracted while you're cooking. And the other thing you got to be aware of is working memory. So if you're looking at a recipe, it has a whole bunch of different steps and you have to keep all the information in your brain while you go to one step to the next step to the next step. There's a good chance you might forget something because your working memory will just get too full at that point. And so what you want to do with ADHD is keep it simple. Something like oatmeal, something like a sandwich, something like grilled chicken and a salad or grilled chicken salad. All those things are really simple to make. They don't have a lot of steps in the preparation of them. And so it's going to be very easy for you, if you have never cooked it before, to actually prepare any of those things really easily and really quickly. And the next tip is meals that don't take a long time to prepare are number one, because when you have ADHD, you really don't want to sit in your kitchen for 2 to 3 hours trying to prepare everything, get everything together. And that's just the prep before you actually put it in the oven to cook it. Then it cooks for 45 minutes. All that time is spent in the kitchen. And with ADHD, being in the kitchen for 3 to 4 hours is not the thing that we want to do. Generally, if we can be in the kitchen for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes at tops, that's really good for us because A, we won't get bored, we won't get distracted generally. We'll be able to go ahead and fix the meal that we want to fix and go ahead and go about our day, because just being in a place for that long trying to do one activity can be kind of frustrating when you have ADHD. And so you want to make sure that your meals are really simple, really quick. And what you want to do are things like spaghetti. Spaghetti is really easy to cook. It takes only 10 minutes and you can use it throughout the week, which is really good. Or you can do something like I do, which is stir fry. And my version of stir fry is some frozen vegetables, some ground chicken, and some soy sauce. You mix it all together, you throw it in the pan. It takes about 15 minutes to actually get done. It's really quick and simple. Doesn't take a whole lot of time to do that. Or you can do a salad. That's really easy to do because you actually have one for each day if you want to do that. All these little simple things that you can do that make it really easy to prepare it, throw it in the refrigerator, and that we have meals. Whenever you want a meal, you go into the refrigerator and it's already there, already prepared, and you could just grab it and go. And the next tip is when you go to the grocery store, make sure you shop on the outside of the grocery store. That's where all the fruits and vegetables and things are. Don't shop too much on the inside of the grocery store, because in those things, which are processed foods, has all these added ingredients. Some of them have food coloring, and there have been some studies on food coloring and ADHD, how it's not really good for you when you have ADHD. Not sure if that's a conclusive thing, but just being aware of that, it's just kind of one of those things that you want to try to avoid if you can. And the other thing is, when you shop in the middle of the store where all the processed foods are, you have cookies, crackers, whatever you want to have there. I know that when I sit down and watch a movie, that I've been sitting there with Chips Ahoy or Nilla wafers, I'm watching a movie and I get distracted and hyper focused on the movie, and I don't even realize as I'm reaching down and popping a cookie in my mouth, and then realizing as the whole movie goes on, I've eaten a whole box or bag of whatever that I have there and didn't even notice. And that's a really big issue when you have ADHD, that you might just get hyper focused, might get so focused on your movie or a video game. And when we have a video game movie on, the first thing we do is we go to the pantry and just grab whatever. And if we bring it back and sit down, there is a tendency to not pay attention about how much we are taking in. And the next tip is, if you have food that you're going to eat all the time, that that's healthy, that you're going to meal prep pretty much every week or very often, then you want to make a list of go-to foods that you do that with. That way you don't have to do all the guesswork about, okay, what am I going to eat this week? Not sure. Let me look at all my ingredients. Let me see what I go get from the store. And then you might forget something that you need to get at the store and bring it back. Instead, if you have a list of go-to foods and you put it somewhere like on your refrigerator, it's just somewhere where you can see it easily, Then when you get ready to look for the week and figure out what you're going to eat, you can go to that list and go down and say, okay, these are my go-to foods that I really like a lot of the time. Look down there, see if there's something you like, and then you can automatically just go to the store and get the ingredients for just that, as opposed to and try to figure it out on the fly if you can help it, because now you're going through and using your working memory to try to remember everything that you actually need. And as you take in more information, then it's going to be harder to remember the first things that you were actually thinking about and trying to add on new information to that as well. So you want to be able to have some way to remind yourself of the things that you need to get and not have to figure it out on the fly. If you can help it with ADHD, that is a really good thing to have an option for. And the next tip is make sure you have everything prepped in a clear container or a clear bag so you can see what's inside and what you already have prepped. Because the worst thing is thinking you have something prepped already, it's in a container, you can't see it, and then you look at it and say, oh wow, I didn't even do the preparation or the meal that I wanted. This is something completely different. Or the other thing is you have something in a container and it's just past its time, like just not really recognizable to you because it's just not good anymore for you to eat. And then you have to go and throw it away. And now you're freaking out because of the fact that you don't have anything prepared when you thought you had something prepared. Out of sight, out of mind. And so if you can't see it, then you may not remember what is in there. So it's a good way to have something so you can see it. And then you're reminded, okay, this is what I have. And this is what I actually need to do. And this is something I need to go to the store and get so I can prepare if it's not already there. And that is a good thing to have these different ways to make sure that you can keep things visual when you have ADHD. And the next tip is make sure you have some place in your refrigerator to where you put all your prepped meals, because the worst thing is looking in your refrigerator, trying to look behind stuff to find everything that you prepped. But if you have a designated spot, then what happens is you look in, you automatically know, hey, I've actually prepped stuff, which is great. And two, I know what I prepped. I can see inside my containers and I know how many of those things I have prepped. So I know if I'm ready for the week or if I need to do something else to make up for the days I don't have prepped. But it makes it a really easy way to remember. And with ADHD, it's good to have all sorts of things to remember how or where or what is in something. And if you have areas that you can just look at and automatically know where something is, that just makes things easy for you to remember with ADHD. Because with ADHD does come the tendency to forget things, and anything that you can do to make it easier for you to remember things to where you don't have to try to figure out things in your brain on the fly is a good thing for ADHD. So this will help with that. And the next tip is you don't have to finish your meal prep all at once, because there are going to be times where you look at your week and you're like, I've got a lot of stuff to go ahead and put together to meal prep for this week. And you know it's going to take you 2 hours, and maybe you guess 2 hours. It may take you 3 hours, because a lot of times with ADHD, the first estimation is not the real estimation of time. And so you want to be able to have the freedom to take breaks, maybe meal prep for 15 minutes and then take a 5-minute break, go back, meal prep for another 15 minutes until you get all the way through and done. When you have all this stuff to do, it's going to take you a little bit of time. And so you don't want to get just bogged down in the kitchen trying to figure out everything and then realize you still got a long way to go and you're nowhere near done yet. So you do want to take breaks. It's important to take breaks, especially with ADHD, because a lot of times you might just get bored and lose interest. And so you need something to refresh your mind and get your mind back in the mode to actually go through and continue the activity. So definitely make sure as you're doing this, if you know it's going to be a little while before you finish it, do go ahead and take some breaks as you're going through the process of doing all this meal prep. And the next tip is label everything, because even if you can see inside a bag or container, you want to make sure that you have a label on there to double check, because a lot of times with ADHD, we do need reminders. And if you can have an extra reminder by putting a sticky note on there or an actual label, or they have containers that have places you can write what's in there or on there. So that's all good things, because anything you can do with ADHD to make it easier to recognize what it is, to where you don't have to use any of your working memory, to where you can just have a simple thing to say, this is what is in there, this is what it is, this is what should be in there. And the next tip is Get rid of anything that's past its time, that's expired. Like you made some meal prep, you ate as much as you could, and then you didn't get around to eating the rest of it. And so you put it away thinking, okay, maybe I can use it later or something like that. And now it's in your refrigerator and you just forgot about it. And then eventually you find it and say, oh, that's where that was. And you look inside and say, oh, wow, this is not really recognizable anymore as what I did. So if you have a situation like that, make sure that you go ahead and throw it out and get rid of it. You don't want to keep anything like that. You don't want to accidentally eat it somehow or whatever, because with ADHD, procrastination is a thing. So even we know that we should throw something away, we just procrastinate on it and then maybe not throw it away and keep it for way too long. And so this is just a reminder to make sure, hey, if you have meal prep something, it's past its time, make sure that you throw it away and get rid of it and get it out of your refrigerator as soon as possible. And the next tip is you can use a meal delivery service. If you don't know what you want to eat or what you think about getting at the grocery store, you just don't think you can get healthy foods, then go ahead and get one of these services. And what they do is they send you a box with all the ingredients in it. And then all you have to do is take all those ingredients out and cook them. Now, the process of putting everything together and cooking them may be more than what you want to do, or maybe more complicated than just going to the store and getting simple, quick meals that you can make. So it just depends on what you feel like doing. I'd recommend just going to the store and just get some meals and find ones that are quick and easy to make and use those. But if you want to, you can use this service as well. And that's just one of the things that takes out one of the steps. But again, you still have to prepare those meals and realize this is only part of the process. I do have another video about life-changing kitchen hacks for ADHD. It should pop up on your screen. You can watch it right now, right here.